Hello and welcome to Ivory Blush Roses, Crazy Quilting and Beyond. We're going to be doing a series on a Crazy Quilt Challenge project that I recently had the opportunity to participate in. This project, you can see the finished version on the wall behind me. This is the beginning of a new series, and it will take us all the way up through the completion of the project and then a look at the amazing variety of results that came from the different stitchers who participated in the project. In this episode, we're going to be introducing the project. Follow along as we look at all the things that were included in the kit, the restrictions, and the things that I really wasn't quite so sure about. So we had the option of purchasing the kit for this challenge if we wanted to participate, and it came with a number of things that we were required to use, so I thought I would show you those things. First of all was fabric. Now we're starting in this midway, and I've already gone through and decided what fabrics that were in the package I was going to use and what I could substitute. So the rules were I had to use this particular fabric. It's a lovely blue cotton with a kind of a floral and bird design. I actually really liked it, and so it was a bit of a challenge to decide what it was I wanted to do with it. The kit also included this dark brown fabric. There were a couple of different greens, kind of a pale green satin, and then there was also this maybe a little firmer silk fabric or taffeta possibly. Then there were two different pink fabrics, and I have used every drop of those fabrics in this. And there was also a lovely white sort of with kind of a textured bubble pattern in it, and I've also used just about every drop of that. So we had the option of substituting up to 2 of the fabrics for others. Well, I only decided to do that with 1. So what I opted to get rid of was the dark brown. In the projects that I was envisioning, I just couldn't make that work at this point. So I substituted that brown and instead used this lovely deep kind of turquoise floral pattern. And I really like that, and it kind of gave these fabrics some life. I also added a pale turquoise in the same pattern. Both of these are cottons, so they work really nice together, and again they liven up this kind of pastel palette, which I felt like it just needed some life. So here's that bird fabric that I'm required to use, the pale green, the light turquoise that I added, and the deeper green. And then we have a pink silk, and then this was sort of a brocade, and then the bubble fabric. And I think that's actually all the fabrics. Now I actually on this brocade decided that I liked the back side the best, and I often find that with brocades and even the satins, although I did opt to use the front of the green satin on this particular one. So I discarded one fabric, swapped one. We also could choose to add up to 6 things in addition to the things that were in the kit. And so let me show you the rest of the kit and then I'll explain that. So I added 1 fabric, so there's my plus 1 already, so the pale turquoise. Then this tray shows the other things that we're required to use in the kit. So there's a number of these floral velvet flowers. There was some lace, which I cut apart and I hand dyed them, and there were also some leaves that I hand dyed specifically to go with my fabrics. There's also this piece of lace, and I have cut up that into some smaller chunks that I'm going to be using, and you'll see how I use those to accent the rest. There's this lovely crocheted doily. There was some other floral lace motifs, and I have opted to again hand dye them to go with the rest. And then there are some other things. There's some rayon ribbons, so there's this about 2 yards each of these, a pale yellow, a pale pink, and a darker pink, and I have already been making some flowers out of the pink ribbons to go with that. There's some trims. There's this leaf trim, a beaded trim. There's another beaded kind of a fringe trim, and this little baggie actually contains beads that have already fallen off of this. And I probably won't use these as is, but I'll probably deconstruct them to use throughout the beading. And then there are several types of sequins. There's some lovely kind of olive green beads. I really like those. Those will be really handy to use in flowers and centers. There's 3 charms. These 2 little hearts are actually sort of a button. They have a hole in the top and the bottom, so they'll be easy to sew down. And then this little pearl owl charm. I had quite a bit of the green fabrics left over, and I chose to use the darker one to make a series of leaves. And I still have some other strips of that fabric cut to make some more. There's also 4 of these dagger beads, and then there was a skein of variegated DMC pearl cotton, and as you can see, it is the pop of color along with these floral velvet flowers. And so I actually opted to make tassels out of those. So that's my kit of things that I'm required to use. Now that we've looked at the contents of the challenge kit, I thought we'd go over the rules and guidelines that were given. First of all, it needed to be crazy quilted, and it needed to use the blue fabric that had the birds on it. We were also allowed to substitute up to 2 of the fabrics for fabrics of our own. The finished project needed to be an equivalent of a minimum of 8 by 8 inches in size up to as large as 24 by 24 inches in size. And while we were required to use some of all of the kit items, we didn't have to use everything. In other words, we didn't need to use every sequin that was provided or every bead that was provided. We also were allowed to modify the kit items in any way that we wanted, by cutting it up, by dyeing it, assembling it into something different. Any of that was allowed. We were also allowed to add up to 6 items from our own stash, and those were allowed to be grouped together. So I needed to add embroidery thread, and so all of the thread counted as one item. Likewise, if I added beads, they counted as one item, or buttons would be one item, etc. We were not allowed to share our project or discuss it with anyone, because when we got to the retreat, we were going to vote on these anonymously, and so they didn't want anybody to know who had done each project. There were 3 prizes, a first and second prize for best project, and a third prize for guessing the largest number of who created each block. My favorite part of the challenge kit was the rayon ribbon. As soon as I saw it, I had a lot of ideas of different ways that I could use it. So I really enjoyed that part of the kit. I also enjoyed that blue fabric that we were required to use. The most challenging part of the kit for me was the 3 charms that were included. I typically don't use charms in my work, and the little owl wasn't my favorite thing in the kit, and I actually changed my mind what I was going to do on numerous occasions based on how I would be able to incorporate that little owl into the project. In the next episode, I'm going to be covering my thought process and creative process as I planned out my project, because what I planned made a difference in the supplies that I was going to choose from my own stash. Stay tuned. I'm looking forward to sharing the rest of this challenge project with you. Thank you for watching this episode of Ivory Blush Roses, Crazy Quilting and Beyond. I would love to hear from you in the comment section below what your favorite part of the challenge kit was and what your least favorite part was. Thank you for watching today's episode. Don't forget to subscribe, click on the bell to be notified of new episodes, give me a thumbs up down below, and I'd love to hear your comments or questions in the comment section below. Thank you for watching. Happy stitching. Let's go create something beautiful.